how I make my knots. And the reason why I keep banging on about these knots business, guys, is simply because I keep receiving emails and messages from gentlemen who ask me about my knots and how I make them, despite the countless Instagram live and videos and reels and also YouTube videos where you can actually fast forward and rewind as many times as you want to actually understand how I do it. But frustrated men to the point that today a gentleman was so frustrated that he said to me, Angelo, I would rather send you back the ties that I got from you, because I have tried to knot them the way you do, and I've also given my ties to other gentlemen who knot ties all the time, and they still can't do it. So he got to the point where he thought that the problem is the ties, which that's when it becomes a real problem for me, because getting to the point where you think that the problem is the tie is where you actually get yourself into a vortex where you can't get out of it anymore. And that's what I'm here for. I'm here to offer support free of charge. Okay? This also happens all the time in fitness, guys, dieting, nutrition. You know, you get yourself into a vortex and you got to pay someone to help you come out of your own mind and thinking that the problem is something else rather than yourself. Now, when I say that the problem is yourself, I'm not saying that you guys who can't do it, because there's also many examples of gentlemen who could do it even before I started doing these live, before I knotted it. I'm not the first person in the world who knots a tie, okay? And those who actually found my videos helpful managed to get there, to create this dimple, to make good knots. So I get many gentlemen sending me videos and pictures saying, Angelo, thanks to your video, I finally can get a very good dimple and a very good knot. But those gentlemen who can't do it, it's not because they have a problem and they don't understand what I'm talking about. I think the problems are two. Number one, me generating the knots that I do also sometimes can backfire to me, because let's be honest, guys, I don't see many gentlemen, not many, out there who make the knots the way I do. There are amazing examples of gentlemen who do make the knots the way I do, but many men, even the ones who are very big on Instagram and they are quite relevant, I still don't see them having a good knot, to be honest. So when we say other men tried it and they can knot it, well, it's important that we understand what knot they actually make themselves, because the fact that they knot the tie all the time, it doesn't necessarily mean that they can make this knot, okay? So this is a problem, because this is the knot I make, okay? And if you like it, well, the only people who can help you is me or the people who knot it like me. You can't really ask anybody who knots ties, because people who knot ties, they've been knotting ties the way they knot ties. And the second problem is this. I have created high expectations, okay? So if this is the type of knot, look at the camera for YouTube sometimes, guys. If this is the type of knot that you like, great, I'm happy, because you agree with me. But just because you see me doing it like that, it doesn't mean that it's easy, okay? It's like when you see someone playing guitar, or playing the trumpet, the saxophone, and they do it so easily. Cristiano Ronaldo with his football, Messi. What does it mean it's easy? It's not easy. They make it look easy because they trained. They practice. Hours upon hours upon hours upon hours upon hours. Well, if you're trying to play like Cristiano Ronaldo, you need to work 10 times more than him, because you don't have that gift anyway, to get to half of his level. Well, and if you can't get to the level, does it mean that the football is not good? Does it mean that the shoes that you're wearing are not good? That's what people who don't want to put the work in say. When people say, oh, I can't get to that level of, abs, I can't get those abs, that is because genetic. It's not. It's because the level of work that you need to do, probably you don't want to do it, which is fine. I'm not criticizing. When I say that you don't want to do the work, I'm not criticizing. It's okay to say, you know what, I'm not prepared to put all that work for a knot, which is fine. But guys, when I was learning to do the knot the way I do it, I went to bed at 3 o'clock in the morning to learn how to do the knot like this, okay? And the reason why I did it is because I had a bigger plan in my head. I wanted to create a Roma. I wanted to learn. I wanted to become a leading brand, which I'm still not as a brand, but I want to become a leading brand in what we do. So that was the motive that moved me. The next time we're looking at is Oro. Beautiful monochromatic stripe. So the stripe is there, but is jacquard on jacquard. It's beautiful. So yes, you need to put the work in, guys. That can, because this gentleman, I wanna help him so much. Got to the point where he actually thinks that the problem is the ties, and he said, many men would have the same question, the same struggle. We want to buy the ties from the Roma, but this is a hurdle that needs to be passed. So to the point where someone can sound as if he actually thinks that the problem is the ties and not his hands. The problem can be the tie, and I'm going to address at the end of this video. I'm going to break down again how I make my knot, and I'm going to show you why some ties can be trickier than others. But if one thing is for sure, that our 30.000 collection, which happens to be the 2 ties that the gentleman bought, are both from the 30.000 collection. The 30.000 collection, in the way, the shape of the tie, has been conceptualized to make the knot that I do easier to perform. So if you want to make the knot the way I do it, well, if you buy a tie from a 30.000 collection in the Roma, you're definitely going to have an easier life than when you buy somewhere else, because other brands don't even take into account that. They just make a straight, simple shape of a tie. So I went from conceptualizing a tie that makes your life easier to being told that my ties are actually the problem for making the knot the way I do it, which is a paradox. The ties are made to avoid you as much stress as possible, but it doesn't mean that you make it happen as fast as I do, because there is a lot of work into it, guys. And again, I'm not the only one who makes a knot like this. There are many gentlemen who make a knot like this, even without a tie from the Roma, okay? So this tie is beautiful, and I knotted it to perfection for where I like my trousers to be. Blade on the waistband. Now, I get very passionate about this because that's what I do. And when I get passionate about things, I get very emotional when I talk. I would like to stress the fact that I'm not going hard on this gentleman, okay? I do empathize to an extent with him, because I want him to look good with our ties, and I'm happy to always support, even on one-to-one if needed, guys. Okay, it's all down to how much you want to work on it. So, my man, if you're watching me, I don't know if you're there, but if you're watching my video, my live stream now, or the recording later, I am ready to help you no matter what. There is no need to send them back the ties, because you can make the knot the way I do it. We just need to work on it together to try to get there. Oro is also available in a different colorway, which is Argento. I'm sorry about a bit of creasing. I just finished knotting it earlier when I shot it, and I didn't have time to resort it out for you guys. But Argento is the same tie as the one we saw earlier in oro, but the difference is it's in silver. So I'm going to do a different knot here. I'm going to do a Windsor. And then I'm going to probably show you the last tie, and that's where I will start with my tutorial about how I make my knot and try to put it towards you in a way that is different, because obviously clearly the way I've been doing so far doesn't really explain it well, because some gentlemen still not finding it very helpful. So my duty is to make it as helpful as possible. So I turned Argento into a beautiful Windsor, but the way I do my Windsor is still pretty much hidden. It's like a Shelby knot, I would say. The overall look of the tie in the end makes it look like as if I have performed a Shelby knot. But this is the beauty of this tie. Let me do a close-up for YouTube. So, having this beautiful tie, by the way, looks perfect with Narciso pocket square, which is what I'm wearing now. I find it impeccable, this combo. Now, after this big introduction about how I make my knots, without further ado, as they say, let's get into making a knot and trying to explain how I do it. The main thing, guys, is understanding what the tie wants from you. It's very important that you knot the tie in the right spot. Okay? So, what happens is this, and I'm gonna go, like guys, I'm gonna go as personal as possible on this. I am 181 centimeters tall. Okay? Our ties from a 30.000 collection are 155 centimeters long. I constantly wear my trousers rather high-waisted. Actually, these ones are lower than my standard preferred height on trousers. So, if I was to wear this tie as a standard 4 hand, this tie wants to knot it pretty much here, okay? In this point here. So if I do a standard 4 hand knot with this tie, I will probably end up having a tie that is a bit too long for how I wear them, okay? But it depends how I feel on the day. If you are very strict on how you want your ties to land on your trousers, you would agree with me that this is a little bit too long. It should be sitting pretty much here, okay? But it's not excessively long, especially if I'm wearing a double-breasted. This one, by the way, is Tolimea from our 30.000 collection. Has been released today, one of my beautiful designs that I love so much, made in Tussa silk. If you want to know more about Tussa silk, pop over to theroma1980.com on the page where this tie is, and you'll read more about it. So, but what I do with our ties, when I wear these ties with a higher waist pair of trousers, I always have to turn them into Prince Albert, okay? That's what I always do with our 30.000, based on where I wear my trousers and how tall I am. So technically, if I want to always wear a 4 hand knot, my ties 30.000 are a challenge because they're too long. But the length allows you to use different types of knots and still have a nice ratio between tail and blade. Because usually you get 150 centimeters length on tie, you do a nice Windsor knot, you're gonna have a tail that ends here to have the tie as long as you want it. But with our tie, you get pretty much an even ratio. Does that make sense? Right. I'm gonna go on again, and this time I'm gonna do again a simple 4 hand with the explanation. This is what I do. This first step that I do is very, very important, because right now, whatever I do is very tight. Look how tight this is. It's very tight. Everything I do, when I wrap the tie around the finger, I make it very, very, very tight. It's very important, this. If you go loose, I don't even know how to do it, to be honest. Let's try. If I go loose, look, they do this. You put it in, you get like, it's all over the place. I can't even do it wrong, to be honest. So, tight, wrap around tightly, okay? Tight. It's all tight around here. Then the only time when I leave the loop is now. But I slip out my fingers in a way that it still stays as tight as it was when my fingers were in, okay? So then I open slightly, I widen this part slightly, just enough to allow the tie to slip through. But in this very moment, I'm only pushing against my chest. I'm also pushing against my chest. So the back of it doesn't slip away. So I'm pushing against my chest with this finger, with my thumb, look. I'm pushing, so the rest of the loop doesn't move, okay? So I managed to slip the blade through the loop, keeping it as tight. It's got wider, but around the blade of the tie is just as tight as it was around my fingers. Am I making sense? So the tie is wider, so of course the knot is going to look wider, but it's just as tight as it was when I had my finger there. So, what I do now, I push my thumb inside the knot here, and I swipe it across underneath in order to avoid any gather there. Then, the first thing to do is to create tension. And you create tension by pulling the tail. All I'm doing here is pulling the tail. Pull it. And when I mean pull it. Okay? Pull the tail and the tie will start going my way. But what I do, this is creating tension. The moment you touch it, the tie will shape up in the opposite direction because there was tension. And that's once you've done that, that is it really. You need to push in, keep tail tense, and pull down. This I'm doing here, this flicking thing, is very important because it keeps the knot balanced. The moment you push down, this one will lose shape. So you flick back the knot in shape again. And that's it. Then, when I finally, this is when also they get it wrong, many men, when they go to the top. Grab it here in a way that you're isolating this part. Because if you don't isolate this part, it will move inside, and by the time you get to the top, it's going to lose its shape. Okay? And that's it. So, our 30.000 ties are made in a way that this becomes easier. How so? How so? How so that the tail, where you're knotting your tie, is slightly wider. This allows more width in this area. So you've got the space to fold it up and have a kiss and dimple. Does blue tie go with dry shirt and blue coat? Send me a picture, my man. If I don't see, I can't tell you, I'm afraid, because blue, there is different hues of blues. There is different hues of purple. I need to see. So I hope you guys just talk to me, because if it's not clear enough, I'm happy to adjust the explanation. No problem whatsoever. Okay? Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to show you the standard shape that you get from every other place in the world. Okay? Not every other place, I would say many other places in the world. Let me show you if I've got one here. Okay, this is a Charles Stirrat shirt tie. I used to be store manager for Charles Stirrat. This is since then, but back then I bought it. So this tie is 150 centimeters long, but is narrower. This is the standard shape that you get from many ties in the world. The Roma makes it easier for you. Can you see it? Right. This is where you knot your tie. Look how wide the Roma ties is. That is what makes it easier. But let's stress this. It makes it easier. Or if we want to say, it makes it less hard. Okay? I'm going to tie the Charles Stirrat tie for you. And I can show you that it can be done anyway. But I'm also going to show you where the struggle appears with another tie that is not a Roma tie. First of all, I need to start knotting the tie a little bit higher because it's not as long as our tie. So I need to make sure that I don't end up with a tiny, tiny tie. So, you've got less allowance here. Because look, you're going to end up with a small knot to deal with, but it can be done. But again, guys, just because I can do it that easily, it doesn't mean that it's easy. I get countless of messages from many men who struggle with it. But guys, I've been told that probably is the fabric of the ties. It's not. All of the things that we do the Roma are to make it easier, but still going to be hard work. So now I'm going to show you another tie. It's from our Regina collection that is not yet available. And the reason why I want to show you this tie is because I'm still studying it, because it's one of the ties that gave me the hardest time to knot. And the reason behind that is because look how narrow it is. And I'll show you the difference. Look. That's how narrow it is. The narrower the knotting point, the harder it's going to get. This is by far the hardest tie I've tied to my memory. But guess what? It can be done. Okay? The narrower the knotting point, the harder to make the knot. Okay? But the wider it is, the less hard it is. Okay? It doesn't mean that you're going to be able to knot the tie the way I do it with the same speed that I do it. You need practice. The moment you've put some practice in, you will do it. Now, I really want to come across as if look, I made it a little bit too long. Let's do a little bit shorter on the tail. That means we're going to go even higher, which is going to get even narrower the knotting point. I don't want to blow my own trumpet because that is not the reason of the exercise. This is literally a pure response to a SOS message from a customer. Okay? So, this gentleman was so desperate that he wanted to send the ties back for me to keep. He didn't even ask for the money back, bless him. That's how desperate he is. He said, I really like the product, but I'm struggling to tie the ties. But it's nothing to do with the ties, my man, okay? Why do I keep having it too short on the blade? The higher I go, guys, the harder the knot will be. but it can be done. I think I do my knot too tight in order to achieve a similar, yes. If you tighten the knot too much, you're gonna destroy the poor silk. You're also gonna have a very little chance of achieving a good dimple. That's it. But guys, I really don't know how to stress this. After me showing you all these, giving you so much material to go by between YouTube and Instagram and this live that I'm doing now, what's left beyond that point is practice, nothing else. Now, what I'm gonna do now, I'm gonna grab a kid tie, okay? This tie has been made by my mother for my 2-year-old son, Leo, okay? I'm gonna knot that one because I get told, ties is not wide enough, which is what I just said. It's true. It makes it less hard, but it's still hard if you don't chip in with your own. But it's all about if I've got enough tie here now to do it for you. But I want to prove the point. I really want to prove the point. I hope we're gonna have enough here. Right, that's it. That's my tie for the day. This is the tie for the day. Sorry, I couldn't look at the length here. Is that okay? It's a bit too short, do you think, for the trousers? But yes. So guys, if I could knot this tie, a baby tie, it's not even a child tie, it's a baby tie, okay? It's a tie for a baby. If I could do this, it's because the shape, if you know what you're doing, it's irrelevant. It is relevant the moment when you don't have enough practice. And that's when the Roma steps in with our ties. And that's why I step in with my Instagram, with my YouTube, and with an easy point of contact for you so you can get to the achieved result as much as possible. If you have a tie in your closet that doesn't allow you to make the knot the way you like it, it's because, put it as blunt as possible, you're not as good enough to get that tie knotted. End of story. There is no other reason to why that tie cannot be knotted the way you like it. So what you either give up, which is reasonable, or you keep going at it until you get it right. So thank you very much for listening. This Instagram live will be on YouTube. I'm gonna have to chop it off because 30 minutes is gonna take me 2 days to upload. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you found it useful. But again, guys, this is the reason, this is the proof that the tie is not the reason to why your knots are not good enough, and the tie is not the reason to why your knots are amazing. Ciao a tutti, stay dapper.